Hey everybody, my name is Jeremy T. Joseph. I'm from Inkshift and I'm a digital and traditional illustrator here in Portland, Oregon. I'll be talking about digital inking principles today while using this brand new Wacom Cintiq 16. This Cintiq was generously provided to me by Wacom, but this is not a sponsored video, so all opinions are my own. Setting up the Cintiq was a real snap. Just download, install the drivers, plug in your 3-in-1 cable, and you're ready to go. The whole process took me about 10 minutes. At the center of all things Wacom is the pen. I will be using the Pro Pen 2 because I like the traditional fatter feel, but you now have options with the thinner, slim pen. I'm using what I think is the best digital inking program on the market, Clip Studio Paint. It's got a fantastic buttery smooth inking engine. It opens and writes PSDs. I usually start my files at 500 dpi, 9x12, because that's the size that I print at. Some would say that you don't really need anything more than 300 dpi, but I just like the clarity and the detail that higher resolution gives. Clip Studio Paint comes with a huge range of free or very cheap brushes, but my go-to is a stock G pen. It is very clean, it's stark, and it offers a huge range of line styles. I say you should try them all out and see what works best for you. When you're inking, you're going to be switching line weight between thick and thin all the time. You use thick to emphasize, say something is in the foreground, and thin to de-emphasize, something is in the background. Controlling the pen is the first step to mastering that distinction, but knowing when to use thick and thin is the next step. But first I want to talk about line weight. You vary the line weight by applying pressure or releasing it. Easier said than done, but that's something we're going to master together. If you're new to inking, it will be hard to control this aspect at first, but it's so satisfying when it finally starts to click. I love inking with a brush as well as a digital pen. And like a real brush, the pen is very sensitive, so just start applying the lowest amount of pressure that you can and do some line exercises to get a feel for your pen and your own hand. One exercise for that is to make straight lines across your screen, or fill your screen with lines from thick to thin. Another exercise is to start light and to apply more pressure as you go and then go right back to thin. This will give you a better feel for what your device is capable of. Maybe alternate the line a little. Maybe make dots, smaller dots, bigger dots. Anything that will get you closer to really understanding the strengths of your machine. The next question is, when do you use thick and thin? Thick lines are used to show your light source. So for example, if I have a robot here, the light source is going to be over here, because the thicker line implying shadow or contrast is going to be over here. If the light source is over here, then it's going to be like so. Line weight is based on tension. So it's either the tension of a sack of flour, like this, kind of like that, or it's going to be actual physical weight, say an arm of a robot. It's going to have thicker lines and thinner lines, just like that. It's going to have thicker lines on the outside and thinner lines on the inside. So there's a lot to be said about how your posture controls the outcome of your lines. But that's not something that we can easily cover in this video. So let's talk about one exercise that we can do to make sure that you get the straightest lines that you can. So one way to do that is to lock your wrist. Don't rotate it. Just keep it in place, lock it at your elbow, and go across the screen, just like that. If I were to bend it and drag it, I would run out of radius. But really, you just want to keep it straight and locked. Now you'll notice that I'm also wearing a little smudge guard glove. This keeps my hand moving across the screen smoothly, and it's also not going to transfer any sweaty hands or any oil or anything that I have on my hands. It's going to keep your screen nice and clean for years to come. So let's take all our beautiful new knowledge and put it into practice.
Hey everybody, here we are for the Inkshift Director's Commentary. You'll see me talk through my thoughts and some of the things that I'm doing. As you can tell, I just completely started from scratch. I'm not entirely sure. I don't remember if I was actually had something in mind, but that's usually how I start. It takes away a lot of the pressure from coming up with something amazing and inventive. And more often than not, I find that whatever it is that I do draw was not something that I could have preconceived. It just the drawing often makes itself as I'm going. In this case, I'm drawing my character Bacon, or also known as Battle Bacon. It is a cat based on our cat Bacon. Next to drawing cats, I love drawing details. I love drawing either mechanical creatures, biomechanical creatures, or a combination thereof. I draw a lot of strong women. These are all things that fill my imagination. As you can see here, I'm filling out the rest of Bacon's jaw. I'm focusing a lot on the fur texture, which is something that I greatly enjoy. There's a lot of room for thicks and thin. There's a lot of detail that you can be putting into the personality here. So you can see here that I'm mixing the fur with the metal and really just kind of rounding out the texture, going back into the difference of the ears. You see here that I didn't quite exactly like the shape of the inner ear, and since I'm working at such a high resolution, it doesn't really matter if I transform a lot. As you see, I'm just going straight to town. I have very little forethought on where all the mechanical parts go. I don't know where I pull them all from. I do spend a lot of time outside. Oh, here, I'll switch this. So normally I just go straight to ink, as I just said, but here I wanted to make sure that my silhouette was clear. I wanted to make sure that I didn't run into some sort of a design issue later on. So that's one of the beauties of mixing digital and traditional. One of the beauties, I think, of Clip Studio Paint versus, say, Photoshop is that I just absolutely love the way that it fills in solid blacks or solid colors. Now you'll see me coming up to this shoulder pad here. I'm building up like a barrier of detail there, so I can just go in a second. I'm just going to hit 4 just like that, and 4, that's my shortcut key for filling in solid blacks. It works so good. There's no anti-aliasing. There's no weird border. You can even change the sensitivity settings of the fill tool. You can make it super sensitive, or you can just make it be a little bit more but even straight out of the window, I think it took me like 2 clicks to get exactly the setting that I want. And you see here I'm putting some trim on Bacon's little coat. As you can see, I absolutely love putting in random details and a lot of texture and details. And you'll see here that I also put in a little heart. You'll find that I put a lot of hearts in my pieces, mostly because they are references to my beautiful darling, but also I think that this world could use all the love that it can get. So I like to add a little nudges there, a lot of Easter eggs too. And a lot of Easter eggs, a lot of unrelated things to the mechanical parts and pieces that I make. It could be other characters that I made. It could be something that I'm randomly thinking of, maybe like business ducks in suits, having an espresso. These are all the things that populate my mind at all times of the day. Some of the little silly songs that I sing during my live streams. Pretty much it's just a complete and utter what's it called, frame of, train of thought, and mine often derails, but it's part of who I am, so I gotta roll with it. So you see here that I've turned off the underlayer because more often than not, outside of pure structure, I will get lost in my underdrawings. Yeah, that's what I did here. You also see that I added some details. There's a bad kitty. There's some blood. And it didn't end up fitting inside all the mechanical parts, and it just didn't read. I don't exactly know where I get all the mechanical parts for. They just kind of fill themselves as I go. I don't have a lot of mechanical books or things that I read to keep up on my knowledge. I just look around all day long, and I just look at bulldozers or maintenance trucks or grills or hubcaps. Really, pretty much anything, any kind of shape, any kind of texture. Another heart there. Any kind of any something that fills my brain with different patterns, and my brain just kind of mixes and matches them, as you see here. As you see, the details just kind of populate themselves. I don't. They all miraculously sort of work themselves around each other. Here's I'm working on a little belt action, and I get a lot of joy out of drapery and contrast. You see here that I just did a quick little flip. I flipped my image horizontally just to check if it's all working, if it's all still working. That's something you can do to constantly check your image and see if any of your features are off. Not necessarily for me in this case, but it's just a trick that I've started doing, and it's miraculously helpful to show you anything that your brain is not translating to you if you're just looking at it from like a left side or the right side. Just I would highly recommend just try it out for yourself, and I think it'll work for you. You've got a lot of gears here. I was filling in the legs, and I think I was also running out of card space, so I was really kind of speeding up here. It's really just blocking in the shapes and then knocking them out with some black for contrast. That's one trick I will tell you that I don't even know. I wouldn't even necessarily say it's a trick. It's a way of just adding more contrast and making sure that your image read, even though if it's as crazy detailed as mine. That's some of the problems I've had throughout my entire life, is making sure that my drawings read. I would draw as a kid, and the drawing would be unintelligible because it was just detail upon detail upon detail. Another one of my joys is drawing chains. I don't know why. It's so nice to draw interlocking systems. Maybe that's why I like drawing machinery. It's very straightforward. You can make up your own rules. Oh, there's my little character Hamlet. You can make up your own rules. People will ask me how I come up with all the parts, or how I'm able to make everything fit so seamlessly. I don't really know. I just have a big visual library in my head. I look around at things, and I don't really look at books or anything, but I just look around. I look at textures and grates, and anything I see around me, like bulldozers, you name it. This visual library is super important to have for anyone who draws, whether it's digitally or traditionally. It's a matter of form over function, I think, sometimes more so than anatomy is for mechanical details. And in that regards, the Cintiq is absolutely the best of both worlds. It allows me to just build up something digitally, especially in Clip Studio Paint, where you can use amazing tools like perspective guide, perspective rulers and whatnot. And then I just print it out and I ink it. Especially when I go over the digital print with ink, it makes for a unique piece of art. So here we are in the home stretch of this drawing. I'm just using the beautiful fill tool here in Clip Studio as my signature. I hope you had a lovely time watching. Now let's wrap up the review.
So there you have it. While this is not an exhaustive review, I do want to talk about some of my experiences with it. I loved the pen, and I love how it feels on the matte screen protector. The pen feels great. It glides smoothly and effortlessly. It's nice to the touch and easy to clean. The pen has 8,192 levels of pressures, and you really feel it. You can adjust the pressure sensitivity in the Wacom Desktop Center. I would definitely recommend that you play around and find what settings work best for you. I also own a 27-inch Cintiq, and I noticed very little differences in pressure sensitivity or parallax, which is a great testament to its size. Speaking of size, the 16 will fit comfortably into any workspace. I also have a 27, and that takes up my whole desk. You can possibly use it with the second monitor, extend your landscape if you want to. I would definitely recommend buying the optional stand. It gives you a lot of different angles that you can work with, and it greatly enhances your working position. If you're using a PC, I would recommend that you turn off Windows Ink. It definitely got in the way for me using the pen as a mouse. Inking is a lot of fun. I love doing it, but it is a lot of work, and it will take you a lot of effort to get to the level of control that you want. I think it's really important to just keep drawing. I think it's important to keep using your tools, using new tools, and don't be afraid to fail, and don't be afraid to grow. I hope you enjoyed this demonstration. I want to thank Wacom for providing the Cintiq and for all the support that they give to the creative community. If you want to see more of my work, you can find me as Inkshift on either Instagram or Facebook, or you can also find me on inkshift.com.